Hello everybody, Max right here, and unless you've been living under a rock or you're still watching fake news, you have heard about Seth Rich over the last few days and the murder of Seth Rich. Now this is an incredible story, breaking fast and snowballing really fast with lots of facts being added as we go. So I wanted to make this video sort of give you a big catch up and all the details of where we are so far and all of the information that has taken place. So let's begin with, on July 10th, 2016, Seth Rich is murdered. Seth Rich is a person who works at the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, and he's murdered in an apparent robbery gone wrong. Okay. 12 days later, July 22nd, WikiLeaks releases a bunch of emails stolen from the DNC. Right, known as the DNC hack. It was significant. It proved that Hillary conspired with Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and the DNC as a whole conspired to push Bernie Sanders aside and hand the nomination to Hillary Clinton. It was an extremely significant thing that took place. So two facts there, not seemingly related to each other, other than the fact that they're only 12 days apart, but not for some people. Some conspiracy theorists jumped on this and they were like, okay, there's some timing here in conjunction with some other beliefs that these conspiracy theorists had. And I want to just go through that because these people who kind of first championed this idea, they've noticed that there's been a lot of dead bodies piling up around the Clintons. And again, lots of smoke, but no fire. But they've been piecing this together for years, and with all of their, let's call it evidence, but with all of their theories, they think this is just another one in that theory. So in order to set the scene properly, let me just go ahead and tell you what they were thinking. They've pieced together, I'll just go through some highlights of some of the things they say are linked to the Clintons. This one from Zero Hedge. The UN officially accidentally crushes his own throat before testifying against Hillary Clinton. Now this is originally ruled as a heart attack, and in the following days, the police changed this, that the person who was going to testify against the Clintons, they were lifting weights, they were lifting a barbell, their hand slipped and they crushed their own throat with a barbell. Suspicious, but okay, there you go. I'll go through a couple of these quickly. This is Victor Thorne. He researched the Clintons had access to damaging emails about them and exposed their scandals. On August 1st, 2016, he was found shot in the head. His death was ruled a suicide, though he had recently stated, "If I'm ever found dead, it was murder. I would never kill myself." This is Suzanne Coleman. After having an affair with Bill Clinton, she became pregnant. Her body was then found with a gunshot wound to the back of the head. It was ruled a suicide and no autopsy was allowed. She was 7 months pregnant. This is Vince Foster. He was the Clintons' attorney. In his role, he guided Bill and Hillary through numerous scandals, from Whitewater to Travelgate. Shortly after he told the Clintons he couldn't take their lives any longer, he committed suicide by shooting himself in the head twice. This is Sean Lucas. He served a lawsuit on Debbie Wasserman Schultz claiming she rigged the primary for Hillary. He was found dead in his bathroom by his girlfriend. This is an infographic, basically a sum up of all of the different conspiracies around the Clintons and the claims that the conspiracy theorists are making about how many people they have actually killed. Let's zoom in a little bit here and get some of the numbers. These people are claiming that there have been 16 aircraft crashes put down to the Clintons, 20 suicides, 22 of their bodyguards and escorts have been found murdered, 56 military and law enforcement officers, 8 investigative journalists, 7 women, 5 fundraisers, 13 lawyers, 23 witnesses, 5 medical staff, and 11 political staff. And they've got their little blurbs here claiming the arguments for why they think they're related in every single one. So that's a little bit of the background about why some of these conspiracy theorists were so quick to jump onto the Seth Rich situation and start investigating. So they began asking questions online, poking around, theorizing together, and they began to wonder, is the Seth Rich murder just another body in the body count of the Clinton crime syndicate, according to them? But then something very, very interesting happened. WikiLeaks put up a $20,000 reward for any information leading to the death of Seth Rich. Now this is extremely peculiar. If Seth Rich has nothing to do with WikiLeaks, and if Seth Rich is still just a DNC employee and he gets mugged, or let's say something else, he doesn't get mugged, but let's say he's murdered by the DNC and there's some evidence somewhere crawling around the web to suggest that, you still wouldn't expect WikiLeaks to put up a $20,000 reward for any information leading to his arrest. The only thing that makes sense is that Seth Rich is the person who leaked the information to WikiLeaks. Now, WikiLeaks, in an attempt to thinking that perhaps there is an instance, well, now obviously they have clear motive. If that is the case, if Seth Rich was the leaker to WikiLeaks and gave all those emails across, well, now you have an instance whereby you have clear motive. In fact, WikiLeaks recently just retweeted something they tweeted originally. When the Podesta emails were leaked, they found this in the Podesta emails. I'm definitely for making an example of a suspected leaker, whether or not we have any real basis for it. Now, making an example of a leaker could mean fire him or could mean murder him. We don't know, but so WikiLeaks is tweeting this, trying to draw people's attention to it. They're now retweeting, trying to draw people's attention to it. They've put out a $20,000 reward trying to, provide information for the murder of Seth Rich. It starts to make sense only if Seth Rich was the person who leaked the information. He was an employee there. He had access to the information. The speculative motive is that Seth Rich was a fan of Bernie Sanders, and I believe his social media profile backs that up. He was a fan of Bernie Sanders. He witnessed the DNC conspiring to push him aside and ordain Hillary Clinton as the nominee. He was upset. He stole the emails, sends it to WikiLeaks. The DNC get wind of this fact, and they murder Seth Rich as punishment or retribution, something along those lines. Okay, so we have some smoke, but far from a smoking gun. Let's see what else we kind of can uncover. So it turns out that when Seth Rich was murdered, he was gunned down in the street in an apparent botched robbery. It turns out that within 2 hours of that event, the police have gone to his home, seized his laptop for forensic analysis. Now this is strange. Do you think if you or I were mugged in the street and shot, that the police would go to our home, seize our laptop for forensic analysis? That makes very, very little sense. Also, this isn't just a Washington, D.C. police investigation. The FBI gets involved. Why would the FBI be involved in a street mugging? There's absolutely no reason to be. The only reason for the FBI to get involved is there is something much more significant here, and it has to do with the national security of the country, or something like that. It's a much, much bigger story for the FBI to get involved. Or the FBI is asked to get involved by the Clintons, the DNC, Podesta, somebody to assist in covering up their crime. That is the only thing that makes sense. It does not make sense that the FBI would get involved in some street mugging. So if you were to believe, or at least play with the idea, that if you or I were struck down in the street by a botched robbery attempt, the police would not go to our home, seize our computer for forensic analysis. If you believe that, or are willing to explore it at least, then you would have to say that the police knew more about the crime, probably even before the crime was going to occur. They had a plan to go and get that computer, or within minutes of the murder taking place, they've received some other information that the murder took place and to go and get that computer. Now, the only way that that makes sense is if there's some kind of connection between the murderer and Washington, D.C. police. Now, let's play with the conspiracy theorists for a little bit, and let's go along with the line of, okay, Seth Rich was murdered because he was the WikiLeaks leaker, and it was done by the DNC. Let's go along with that, and we can ask the question, is there any connection between the DNC and the Washington, D.C. police? Well, it turns out there is. The next part of the story is that the family of Seth Rich's parents, they hire a private investigator. This man, Rod Wheeler. Now, Rod Wheeler, as part of his investigation, reaches out to the Washington, D.C. police and says, hey, you guys you seized a computer from Seth Rich. I'm investigating further. Can I please have access to it? Now, two things happen. One, they give him the runaround. They say the FBI's got it. Go and get it from them. The FBI says the Washington, D.C. police has got it. Go get it from them. He cannot get access to this computer, no matter how hard he tries. No one's claiming they actually have it, even though it was seized by the D.C. police. Next, an operative from the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, calls the Rich family and says, what are you doing investigating this? Fire this private investigator. Do not get involved. Now, this is suspicious. The investigator calls the police asking for evidence. And all of a sudden, a DNC operative is calling the Rich family in order to tell them to stand down and to stop investigating this and to stop pursuing this further. There's obviously a missing connection there. The DCC police informed the DNC operative what was happening. Now further, prior to Seth Rich's death, Seth Rich went to the DC police and said, I'm being harassed by somebody at the DNC. Now, he didn't go to his HR department. It wasn't someone rubbing his thigh under the table. He went to the police. This is a threat of safety. This is possibly a death threat, right? And it turns out that that person that he made that accusation against to the police was the same person who contacted the Rich family later and said, stand down, stop investigating this crime. So the smoke is mounting. There is lots and lots of smoke. There is also an anonymous source, thanks to the abuse of anonymous sources with the fake media. Anonymous source and $2.50 will get you a cup of coffee. But according to the private investigator, Rod Wheeler, he says there is an anonymous source saying that they have seen Seth Rich's computer and there is evidence that he was contacting WikiLeaks at the time, although no physical evidence, no smoking gun has been provided. There is a lot of smoke to this story. The narrative that Seth Rich was the WikiLeaks leaker of the DNC emails and that he was murdered and there was a conspiracy to commit his murder by the DNC, there's a lot of smoke supporting that. No smoking gun yet, but a lot of smoke. Now, we've just had the firing of the FBI director, James Comey, and very soon we're about to have a new FBI director appointed. This could be something that they could assign a task force to and start investigating this. They can get their hands on the computer, prove once and for all if Seth Rich was the leaker, providing motive for the DNC's retribution if that's what took place. Another piece of the story, Seth Rich was shot. He was found by police alive and taken to hospital. He was alive for about 2 hours. The police officer that found him and was with him during that journey was wearing a body camera. And that evidence is out there as well. Seth Rich may even identify his murderer in some way. We don't know. So there's lots of ways that this can be investigated if a legitimate attempt is to be investigated. Now, we know the FBI was covering for Hillary. We've had numerous smoking guns that amounted to nothing. The easiest one to prove is that Hillary Clinton was handed a subpoena and by the FBI and said, give us your servers. In the following days, her staff member, her tech guy, went on Reddit and said, I've been asked to annihilate these hard drives. Does anyone know how to do this so that even under forensic analysis, the data can't be recovered? So after she received a subpoena to hand over the servers were acid washed, in Trump's words. They used a software program called BleachBit. And the idiot IT guy who worked for Hillary, who was asked to do it, went on Reddit and asked for help on how to do it. So we have a clear intent. We have clear premeditated crime. After she was handed a subpoena, Hillary broke the law. We know this, it's in the public domain, but the FBI director under testimony just recently said, we don't have intent. We know she committed crimes, but we don't have intent. Wrong, we do have intent. Now that Comey is out of the way, there's a real chance that a proper investigation with an intent to arrest her will take place. Now, is it Hillary involved, Podesta involved, Huma Abedin involved? We don't know. But hopefully the investigation comes out and this could lead to charges of conspiracy to commit murder on Hillary, Podesta, Huma, very high up DNC operatives. So this is going to be a really interesting case. Keep your eyes on it and keep pushing it because the mainstream media is going to try and distract us with all sorts of nonsense as they do, one fake story after another. Keep pushing this on social media. It's important. Fox News picked it up. Drudge picked it up. This is getting traction and it's huge. Hope that helps with the catch up and you understand everything that's taken place so far. I'll see you soon and I'll keep you updated in the future. So go ahead and subscribe and like this video if you found it helpful. Thanks, guys.